Hello everyone, and welcome for this session to explain the new elements in the Adobe Analytics module, Python module. Uh, and in this video, I try new things to show you which version I'm using. So I'll show that in the Jupyter notebooks, obviously, but as a starting, so you know which version I'm referring to in this video. So let's get started into this and go into my browser. And you can see that the way, let's make sure that I restart that. The one I'm using is the same, so I will do the same thing that you probably have noticed on the previous video. I will just show you the new capability for the project this time. And in this case, I will just start basically doing the same thing, importing the config file, config JSON. I'm checking as well that my version is the correct one. So it's 0.2.5.2 because there's been two small patches on this one and bug fixes. We then start to get the login company. Actually, I need to get the login class first. Initiate. So it's actually hop logging. And then I will do get company ID. Yeah, here I have now my company ID, and I can call AGS in my case for the AGS things, and it's API 2 Analytics, and then my company ID. So let's just copy that. Now I have created a connection directly through the Adobe Analytics API 2.0 reporting. So I think nothing here is new for you so far. What I want to demonstrate to you is how to use the project class that have been added over time during the last releases. And this one has actually a very nice feature, which is find component usage, which I will demonstrate now. So I will create now a new project, which is going to be called Demo Video Tutorial Project. I will save that project better. And then I will create some stuff in that project. So let's say overview page path. We're taking the prop one path. Currencies, but I don't want two currencies. I want the visit. So you will see my main where I do generate the most of my traffic. So as you can imagine, it's a lot with the Python tutorial for Adobe Analytics. I'm doing this month, and then I will create a new panel. So let's drag and drop a freeform table. And in that one, I want to have some basic segment usage, and I will create a segment from this one, from this selection. Did I click that? Yeah. And I will just take this, and I will do contains web analytics, and this is path contains web analytics. Hop, I will save that. As you probably are aware of, every time you create a segment, they appear here. So I would use that here with visits. And I want also to create a new calculated matrix. So for that, I would create page views and visits. And I will use not page view, but custom page view just to demonstrate on visits. And I will add some decimal just to see. You see that sometimes actually a lot of people are looking. And page views and visit up. Or let's even call it custom page view and visit. Good naming convention would be even better, but anyway, That's how it started. So we have this element as freeform, and you can guess that a lot of people can create those workspaces in your company. And the problem comes when you want to analyze what is being used in your project, or which projects are actually being used. For that, there is an element that I have included some release ago, and it's actually get project. And by that, you will retrieve all of the projects you have created on your login company. There are some options that you can use here. You can see the different elements. So at the moment, I'm not including the share one or the templates one. And my output format is the data frame. So this is a data frame. And you can see all of those different projects. And you see that I have created just now this one. So we are now the 7th of March on 21, and I just created this one, and it's already been there. So I can directly check the states of my different projects that have been created and by whom I have created that. The good thing about this is that once you have all of that, you can have even more details by taking the ID of the project. And for that, it's not the get projects, but get project without the S, because you're getting a single project. And here I will need to have an ID used. So I'm copy pasting this ID, and I will do my project. So this will give me my project, and you can see here, and you can see the different elements that have been used, and the position they have been used, and so forth. And so this is not ideal to look, but sometimes you want to have that for some other, like you want to duplicate that project, so you can take this definition and use that in some other project. But in my case, I want to see what's going on that project. So there is two ways you can achieve this kind of search. Three ways, but we'll do the first two ones for this single project. So now I want to have my project details. There are several elements to know, and you can use the project class. And in that project class, you pass the object directly that you have retrieved from that get project elements, and this will give you some information. So like the ID of the project, or the name of that project, or element used of that project. So you see that I use the prop one, I use the visits, I use the segment, the report suite this one, the calculated metrics. So you can even have, I have a nice overview of, if you click that, you just create that, it shows you all the different elements. So this is very useful, and if you want to create a data frame out of all of those project details that you create, you can do my project details to dict, and that will provide you dictionary, which is exactly what you want to have, and have all of this information. You see that you have two subpanel types, so I have one here, and those are both free forms. And the dimension that have been used, the metric that have been used, the segment that have been used, and calculated metric that have been used, of course, and everything. So this can be very interesting to find what is in your project or what is in the project of some people, so you can analyze what type of element they are being used. If you need to do trainings on specific element that you find useful on your company but are never used in any times, that is important. So that is nice, but you may want to use that at scale, and there is several ways to do that. So first, you don't need to actually do all of this projects class, and as I said, this is a functionality I had, but you directly can say from my get project, I want to return a project class, and this will automatically do this part for you. So if I'm doing this now and doing my project, then I automatically have all of those elements and all of the different attributes and method that I have described below. So I will get rid of those. Um, the second thing is that you can retrieve all of the project details directly by doing AGS get all project details. And here are some elements to be aware of. If you get all of the project details, it can be quite long. So I have added some functionality in that here, and you can definitely, I will encourage you to read the GitHub project element that you can find where I explain all of this. This video is just to give you an overview and the get started part, but definitely I will encourage you to read documentation and not directly either ask me on Slack because everything is mostly here. Then I will go through those different options still, but not demonstrate them all. So you can pass directly a project element, so I can directly filter this one out and pass it. So I will restrict my number of projects I'm looking for. I can filter by specific name of the project or filter by specific name of the owner. I want to use the attribute, which is a different element that you can read about, and I can use variables if we want. So we'll use variables anyway. Up, variables equal true, but I will also want to do filter name owner, and I want to retrieve all of my project. So my project, you can see, contain the name Piccini or Julian, and I have two projects that have been done by Mary here. So you have 8 projects in total. I'm expecting to retrieve 6. So I'll go to my projects details. This is it. So my variables give me some elements, and it tells me that within a minute you will retrieve your so 0 minutes will retrieve all of your details. So I try to give you that because for some people it will probably take tens of minutes or 20 minutes or even 30 minutes depending on how many details you want to achieve. And you see that I actually have to retrieve 6 projects because I have 8 and Mary we're using 2. So I'm looking at lens my project details, and I have 6 elements, and this is a dictionary that gives you the keys, so the ID, sorry, of all of those projects. So I probably have this one here. Yeah, exactly, it's here. And yeah, then you can access them, and they are basically your details like this. Why I'm not using the name, I know it would be easier for you to see the names, but you can have several times the same name by duplicating, but not the same ID. So the second part is that you may want to know which specific elements are being used in your project. So I have a specific method to search for the component that have been used in any of your project or in your segment or in your calculated matrix. So this is the find component usage. Again, I will encourage you to go through all of this to see where the find component used is being used and some remarks are what is being used and how to retrieve those elements. But I will demonstrate now a very easy way. So I want to have all of those elements to pass. Let's say I want to know when pass this segment and this calculated matrix is being used. So for doing that, the path is pretty easy. It's prop1. So I can actually start to get my component. I will make a list. It takes a list. So you can do a list of 1, obviously. But I say I want to have prop1. Where is prop1 being used? Because it's being used here, but it's maybe being used in some other things. Then to get the segment and the calculated matrix, there is 2 ways you can do this. One is actually get let's do calculated matrix. Hop. And you see I have several ones. So I have the custom page view per visit, and I can take this and say I want to know where this is being used. And you can obviously do the same way for the segment, but I will show for the segment how you can do this directly through the UI. In case for some reason you want to see the UI. You go to the segment. It's the same way for calculated metrics. You click on your elements, and you will see that here it's appearing as the last part is your segment ID. So I will just add that here. So by default, when I'm passing the component here, it will search in all of my projects, all of my segments, and all of my calculated metrics. I can restrict that view by passing some project details. You can see that here, and there is more detailed explanations that you can do. So you basically can pass a list of the project details. So the value of those dictionary, you make it a list and you pass it over. I mean, everything is explained here, but yeah, that will drastically reduce your amount of time required for that search. Because the first time you're doing this search, it's going to be taking a lot of time because it needs to download all of the segment, download all of the calculated metrics and the project details, and then search through all of them to retrieve that information. And now if I'm doing that, I don't save it, but you basically see prop1 is being used in that segment, is being used in that other segment, is being used in the Python 2 segment, in non-calculated metrics. And a note here, calculated metrics will never give you if a dimension is being used, because if you use a dimension in a calculated metrics, what's going in the background is the segment. And unfortunately, the segment at the moment are not displayed here. So the segment created from that prop or from that dimension in a calculated matrix is not being displayed anywhere. So you will miss that information. As again, it's being explained in the documentation. The project is being where it's being used. So in my demo video tutorial, it's being used. And then I can see my calculated metrics where it's being used. So I just created it and I just being used in one project. So it's here. And my segment, I just created it. So, and it's just being used in my, again, demo video tutorial. So I find this very, very useful for you to know where those elements are being used. And if you need to download or delete, sorry, or modify them, what will be the impact of this. And the very cool thing that I try to do is that this will run a lot faster on the second time. So now it took 2 seconds to run this search. But if I'm actually now I say, oh, I want to know when visit is being used, because I want to know when people are using visit, it will run faster and you won't have to download everything again. There is a caching mechanism that I try to do so to improve your different search. So the first search will be quite slow, and you can use the verbose elements to see that, how long it takes and so on. But it estimates how long it takes. But you can rerun that later on with new component. And this will be a lot faster. So in my case, it took only 2 seconds to run this for all of my project and so on. So because I don't have so much, but for you, when you have thousands of components, thousands of metrics, tens of thousands, 20,000 of calculated metrics or something like this, our segment, it can be very slow at the beginning, but once you have done that, you can derive multiple reports. So in my case, I will just stop talking and demonstrate that. And now it took me 18 milliseconds instead of 2 seconds to tell, and then visit. You can tell like this visit is being used in my EMEA country segment. It's being used in different calculated metrics, and it's used in that actually this project. So I hope this was a helpful tutorial to get you started and find the exciting new things coming from this module. This is a beta, so don't expect it to be very, very consistent. It really relies on the Adobe Analytics API to be available and so forth. So we know for people working with Adobe Analytics API 2.0, it's not always consistent on the response and so forth. So be mindful of that. It may not come from the module, but yeah, this is, I think, the most exciting release features since a long time. So have fun with it. Bye.